All right, here we go. Welcome out. Let's get things going. I think last time we were talking about humans as growth, a growing entity, not unlike a plant. There's others who have talked about this, that you're either growing or dying in your relationships, growing or dying in your career, growing or dying in your mental, physical, spiritual health, and so forth and so on. So there's a constant need for nourishing. Religious people believe that the reason why they have to pray every day, go to church every week or whatever, is because they need to keep nourishing, just like the body, right? You can't miss too many meals. I think I missed a meal today and I was feeling pretty weak, just one meal. So it's the same thing with the nourishing of the mind, the nourishing of goals, the nourishing of achievement, the nourishing of improvement, betterment in any way, shape, form, capacity, situation, scenario, blah, blah, blah. You have to keep nurturing it, okay? So anyways, effective thought on health and body. This gets a little off base from what I'm used to, but nevertheless, there is a connection. It used to be felt that the body was the physiology of the human form was separate, not connected to the spirit, the personality, one's mindset. But then in recent years, a lot of books have been written, authors have come forth from various fields, medical fields, of course, but various fields, and talking about this, a connection between body and mind, of course, right? So it's nothing new. As you can see here, we're dealing with a text that is over 100 years old. So it states here, the body is the servant of the mind. It obeys the operations of the mind, whether they be deliberately chosen or automatically expressed. At the bidding of unlawful thoughts, the body sinks rapidly into disease and decay. At the command of glad and beautiful thoughts, it becomes clothed with youthfulness and beauty. Disease and health, like circumstances, are rooted in thought. Sickly thoughts will express themselves through a sickly body. Thoughts of fear have been known to kill a man as speedily as a bullet. I don't know if that's exactly true, but there is some truth to that. The speed and the accuracy and regularity of that effect, I'm sure it varies. And they are continually killing thousands of people just as surely, though less rapidly. The people who live in fear of disease are the people who get it. Anxiety quickly demoralizes the whole body, and it lays it open to the entrance of disease, while impure thoughts, even if not physically indulged, will soon shatter the nervous system. Strong, pure, and happy thoughts build up the body in vigor and grace. So this is an application, no matter where you apply it, but those thoughts, and is it happy thoughts? Or are you always just sitting around trying to think happy thoughts and getting rid of all negative thoughts whatsoever they are? Or maybe is that the way it works? No, not really, because there are negative thoughts. You have bad things happen to you, maybe a bad relationship or mental health, physical health. You lose a job. You're not going to just be able to wish those bad thoughts or bad things away, right? But we're talking here in general, right? Generally speaking. So there's always exceptions and qualifications. The body is a delicate and plastic instrument. I don't know what he means by plastic, but maybe malleable, something that changes, that is not rigid, that has some flexibility, I guess you could say, which responds readily to the thoughts by which it is impressed, and habits of thought will produce their own effects, good or bad, upon it. Men will continue to have impure and poisoned blood so long as they propagate unclean thoughts. Again, do you have bad blood? Your blood is basically that which carries disease. So if you didn't have blood in your body, if your body was all spirit, for instance, if you believe in the spirit, then illness would not be something that would occur to you, right? So blood carries the disease, is kind of like the trafficker for disease. So is there a direct one-to-one correlation without exception? Absolute, no, of course not, right? So you have to take all, just like when I was talking about Law of Success in 16 Lessons, Thick-Faced Blackheart, As a Man Thinketh. All of these texts have to be taken with a grain of salt. Don't just expect to read them verbatim. You pull from them that which you find, that which has value, right? And modify as need be, right? Outside of maybe some of the hyperbole statements that are a little excessive, over the top, a little on the salesmanship end of it, right? Trying to push it. Out of a clean heart comes a clean life and a clean body. Out of a defiled mind proceeds a defiled life and corrupt body. Thought is the fount of action, sorry. I've got just a second. I got to let me a second here, just a second. Now I gotta increase. I think when I do this, yeah. So let me go back. Never mind. Let's not do the full screen. Let's just bring it up here, and we'll do it this way. It's kind of hard to see when it's in that form, one-page form. Anyways, if you would perfect your body, guard your mind. If you would renew your body, beautify your mind, thoughts of malice, envy, disappointment, so forth, so on. Wrinkles that mar are drawn by folly, passion, pride, and then he brings in some examples and so forth and so on, right? So I'm not a particular fan, to be honest, of that section. I mean, it has some truth to it, but I really don't think it's his strong suit. I think he's basically bringing up, and in the first few sections, he really brings home what the general concept of the mind, or thoughts in the mind, are on the personality, the character. That one's very solid, has some very good, solid applications of merit on circumstances. If you're sitting, and I was thinking of one occasion when I was sitting in LA traffic, and I remember we were stuck. Nobody was going anywhere, and we were under an overpass, and somebody screamed out their window, "I hate LA," and at that time, sure, who didn't? But I used to drive down to out to Pasadena. That was kind of a long drive, but I also used to go all the way down to Long Beach, and it would take me about at least an hour with traffic to get down there, teach a couple classes, and then come back. And I used to have to bring certain materials with me. Sometimes it was music, sometimes it was educational material, sometimes it was related to things political, economical, philosophical, whatever, spiritual, And I found it as a great opportunity to catch up on things that I wanted to learn or study or better myself through by having that time in the car. So I called it car university, right? I found it a pretty productive time, to be honest. And inevitably I would see people who were, in their cars, frustrated, screaming, or those people that, pass you and try to get by everybody and swerve around and around, and then they get a little bit ahead of you, and then there's stoppage, and then you see them again, they get ahead, then you catch up to them. So, what's the best way to spend your time? Try to maximize your time usage. If you're waiting around the house for someone to go somewhere, for something to happen, for the bus to come, for your spouse, significant other, whomever, whatever, to get ready, or to be there for transportation. Maybe you're at the doctor's office, you have a long wait, instead of just being bored, bring something to be productive, right? This is something I've done for a long time. Okay. So those two sections are good. Character, effects of thought on character, excellent. Circumstance, excellent in the sense that it's very those sections are very applicable to everyday life, and I find that they have considerable merit. And I think he was actually probably just trying to branch out to cover as many aspects or effects or areas of effect of thought, right? The effect of thought on here and there. And so body health, certainly one. But, that's a nice little passage. As you can see, it's only about a page. So you're not going to probably get your money's worth out of that section, so to speak. And thought and purpose also a little brief, but we'll take a look through it. Until thought is linked with purpose, there is no intelligent accomplishment. Interesting. Very true. That's true. So now we're getting back to something I think that is more in line with his insights or his gift or his general acumen, right? His general acumen is dealing with, motivation, the thought process on character, thought process on achievement, thought process on your conditional situations, not necessarily body and health, because that's a little bit out of his department, my department. I'm not a physician or, someone who focuses on that. So I wouldn't go to James Allen or me for advice on that element. With the majority, the bark of thought is allowed to drift upon the ocean of life. Aimlessness is a vice. This is something, like in the old religious days, like when the Quakers came over, or the early Christians, those who founded this country, sitting around and doing nothing. It's the work of the devil, that type of thing. So it's always had a negative connotation throughout history, just sitting around, being just wasting time and doing nothing. And such drifting must not continue for him who would steer clear of catastrophe and destruction. They who have no central purpose in their life fall an easy prey to petty worries, fears, troubles, and self-pitying. There you go. All of which lead just as surely as deliberately planned sins to failure, unhappiness, and loss, for weakness cannot persist in a power-evolving universe. There you go. So I always talk about, what you can work to your strengths. When you work to your strengths, that's power, that's empowering. When you work to your weaknesses, that's disempowering, right? Petty worries, yeah. So if you're just sitting around, not doing anything, you're generally not occupied a great amount of time. Think about when you're, in the summertime, especially when you were in school, when you were younger, and you said, summer, yay, that's great. And you're so excited about, even before it comes, so excited about having time off and not being in school for 2 months or whatever it is, right? But what's funny, after about a week or two of doing nothing, I'm bored. This is boring, got to do something. Even if you're going outside playing with your friends, that gets boring. I need something more, right? So this is what filters into your mind when you're not, or if you're not working or not working enough. Petty worries start to filter in, fears, troubles, self-pitying, that type of thing. We've all experienced that. It's very natural, but generally you want to avoid it and stay away from it. Do what you can to avoid it. Right? A person should conceive of a legitimate purpose in his or her heart and set out to accomplish it. He should make this purpose the centralizing point of his thoughts. It may take the form of a spiritual ideal. That's an interesting concept. I've talked about this before. Most people are interested in focusing on the material, monetary, the physical, but are there other things? Do you want to work on the ethical and the moral and the spiritual? Why not? What emanates from there? Ethical, moral, and spiritual are 3 areas or concepts that deal with improving yourself, right? Being more consistent to your word, being more honest, being more trustworthy, all those good things. I mean, who wants to hang out with somebody who's a liar, cheater, backstabber, stealer, right? Those types of things, right? So it's something to think about, at least. May take the form of spiritual ideal, or it may be a worldly object, according to his nature at the time being. But whichever it is, he should steadily focus his focus his thought forces upon the object which he has set before him. So this is kind of along the lines of law of success, the law of success, law of attraction, where it's about focus, right? Where do you put the majority of your focus? Do you put it on the positive? Do you put it on the negative? Do you put it on the good or bad? Are you constantly worrying and looking to the worries rather than looking to the positives and to solutions and so forth, right? Not easy to do. You're not always going to be able to do it. But generally, you want to increase your time that you're working more in the positive, working more with the strengths. And I've told you about my history. I grew up, I was very self-deprecating. I was full of self-doubt. I was very shy, introverted. I didn't talk to anybody unless it was my friends or my family. And even in my own family, I didn't talk to a lot of family members, the ones that I was not as familiar with. And if they were adults, I really didn't talk to them when I was younger, right? So, and living like that. But I got into my early 20s. And when you're a kid, that's probably not too unusual for too many kids. But it became a serious problem by the time I was in my early 20s. And I got to about my mid-20s, and I got to stop this. This is ridiculous. I have to overcome this. And that's when I really started to make a concerted effort to get out of my shell, to be a little more assertive, to work on positive elements of thoughts and action and word and deed, all that stuff. All this, that's kind of the origins of this stuff that I'm giving you now, or the origins of why I eventually got into, in great detail, motivational elements and self-understanding and self-merit and self-motivation, whatever you want to call it. Right? He should make this purpose his supreme duty and should devote himself to its attainment, not allowing his thoughts to wander away into ephemeral fancies, longings, and imaginings. Ephemeral means to be, off into space, fanciful notions, kind of like a lot of people now are with the internet and artificial intelligence. I think people are more too much online activity. A lot of times you'll see it's mostly guys. I think I don't know if women do it as much, but they see somebody online, a beautiful girl, woman, or whomever, and just full of simpy, you know what I'm saying? Simpy comments. And so beautiful, so amazing, captivating, an enchantress, blah, blah, blah. That's fine, but if that's all you're doing, what's the point? Why don't you turn the computer off, put your phone down, go outside, talk to some ladies, right? I don't know. Anyways, this is the royal road to self-control and true concentration of thought. Even if he fails again and again to accomplish his purpose, as he necessarily must until weakness is overcome, the strength of character gain will be the measure of his true success. And this will form a new starting point for future power and triumph. Those who are not prepared for the apprehension of a great purpose should fix their thoughts upon the faultless performance of their duty. Faultless, so a consistent, I don't know, faultless is the word. Perfect, there's not a lot of perfection out there, but you want to work towards perfection. If you're 60% there, go for 65, 70, 75, just keep improving. And you'll have some back slippage and whatnot and back and forth, but generally moving up the hill, it's where you want to be. No matter how insignificant their task may appear, only in this way can the thoughts be gathered in focus and resolution and energy be developed, which being done, there is nothing which may not be accomplished. Again, that's an absolute. Is that absolutely true? If you apply these methodologies and techniques, or this particular one at least, and all it's associated with, is there nothing which may not be accomplished? Well, accomplishing your goals, especially complex, long-reaching goals, Not always easy. They don't always work out or work out the way you initially plan them, or maybe you go down a road and then you change that after some time and through good effort and good giving it the good old college try, right? You go far enough down the road, and that's what I did. I went into the computer field, and I probably did that for 5, 6 years or so, and I realized no, that's not it. Then I went into stand-up comedy and did that for about 5, 6 years, and I said no, that's not it. Especially since I, was starting to build a family at that time. Then I went back to college, and then I started teaching. I've been an adjunct now for about 25 years. I've been coaching for about 12 years or so. And, not everything's going to work out. I think the first thing I wanted to be was what? I don't know. Star athlete, basketball player, probably, because I was really good at that. Rock musician. That was another one. I got my 2 guitars back there. I haven't played them in a while. But is it possible to make a living on what you want to do or initially want to do, right? And there are setbacks all the time. There are thousands, tens, hundreds of thousands, millions probably of people who have gone off to be whatever, and have failed or even have made it and have had to, do something else at some point because things don't always work out. Dreams do not always work out. There's a lot more failures, way more failures out there. I hate to break it to you. Way more failures out there than successes. So what do? Give up? I'm not going to have anything to fall back on because I'm going to be a fill in the blank, right? I'm going to be the next great running back. I'm going to be the next all-star power forward. I'm going to be the next home run hitter, chances of that happening pretty minimal, even if you're skilled. There have been many who have gone off to be a professional athlete or actor or actress or whatever, writer, whatever, and didn't happen, even with talent, even with skill, didn't pan out for whatever reason, right? Anyway, so that's a little bit of reality. Throw some reality your way, always good. Don't choke on the reality, but at least deal with it as you need to. The weakest soul, knowing its own weakness and believing this truth, that strength can only be developed by effort and practice. True. Will at once begin to exert itself. So, you have your goals, right? You have your tangible goals in regards to work or career. But sometimes in order to achieve, there's stuff in here like me, right? There's stuff in here. When I was younger, there's no way I was going to achieve anything or do anything. I was afraid of my own shadow. Talking to new people, talking to people generally was not an option. So something had to give, something had to change, right? And I willed it to change, right? I did a 180. I am now as gregarious and outgoing and not shy as anyone would need to be, even though I am still at the core an introvert. I love spending time, maybe not as much as I used to, but still love spending time learning, researching, writing, creating, right? And that's perfectly fine, but you've got to find a balance and you've got to deal with reality, right? So, balance, that's my next book. Balance and reality, what you need. Anyways, effort and practice will at once begin to exert itself in adding effort to effort, patience to patience. That's an interesting expression. Strength to strength will never cease to develop and will at last grow divinely strong. As the physically weak man can make himself strong by careful and patient training, true. It's exactly what I did, right? So the man of weak thoughts can make them strong by exercising himself in the right thinking, right? So if you have mental weakness, and that's something that you should work on, that's something that I had. And for me to stand in front of people, oh my gosh. Or one of the things I had to do was even look at people. I used to just like walk with my head down. Imagine that, some like 6'3", 250-pound guy, weird when I think about it now. But anyways, you know, you really have to get out of your head, man. Most people are not thinking about you. They're not worried about you. They may be criticizing you, but what's a person criticizing you? Who are they? Why are you letting them into your wheelhouse? Why are you letting them determine whether or not you're what? If they have a comment to make, why are you allowing that comment to hit you? If you're not that thing that they say you are, just ignore it, laugh it off. Again, sounds easy. And I can tell you, when I was not of the proper frame of mind, before I practiced all this stuff and started to solidify, build up my sword shield. We'll get to that, thick face black heart. Sword shield. The sword is, I think it's spear actually, but I like sword because the sword shield goes together better. And your sword is, you're able to move forward, to say and do and think and feel, to move forward, expressing yourself, doing things and so forth, to get whatever it is that you need accomplished. And then you'll have your detractors, people who will say things. So that's why you have your shield, to deflect. And I had to develop both of those. I had no defenses when I was younger, just starting out, or in a totally vulnerable place. No defenses. Shields didn't even exist in my little town or whatever, wherever I was living, in my mental town, right? Or swords. I was just kind of like a doll, just punch me, throw me about. So you've got to build up some strength. You've got to build up, and strength isn't necessarily just, yelling back to somebody, F you, I'm not going to take that. That's not strength. That's weakness, because you're afraid. That's a cowardly way of dealing with it. Assaulting verbally, or worst of all, physically. Attacking people who attack you, then you're not as strong as you need to be. If you're really strong, then that stuff's not going to get to you. You're going to stay calm, and you're always going to stay in control. Control is also an element of success, or a high achiever, right? And I do a pretty good job of that. I have numerous examples of when I've been able to maintain control. But it's a practiced art. It's really, really a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of input, a lot of effort. As the physically weak man can make himself strong by careful and patient training. Oh, we already read that. To put away aimlessness and weakness, there it is, and to begin to think with purpose, is to enter the ranks of those strong ones who only recognize failure as one of the pathways to attainment. There you go. And those people that say failure is not an option. I think I've seen those stickers, failure is not an option. No, it's not. Because you try to do almost anything, you're going to fail, right? You're going to fail in small measures. And before you get to achievement, or high achievement, or the greater achievement, right? Maybe even achieving your goal, it's going to be a lot of failures. I was watching a baseball game, right? And the announcer said, and this is something that I've expressed before, that even the most successful baseball players, Hall of Famers, still fail 70% of the time, right? If you're a great hitter, you're batting 300. That's terrible. You get a hit only 30% of the time. That's terrible, right? When you think of it, you actually think about it. Getting a hit 70% of the time. Wow, that's amazing. And I'm sure that has happened at times when players go on streaks, or they're really hot. But generally speaking, even 300, and most players, majority of professional players are not 300 or above. Right? Anyways. Having conceived this purpose, a man should mentally mark out a straight pathway to its achievement, looking neither to the right nor to the left. Doubts and fears should be rigorously excluded. Again, qualified to the greatest degree, always excluded. Can you always do it? No. Right? but you have to work. Like when I used to do stand-up, there's a case in point. A shy guy, introverted guy that never talked to anybody, just as friends or maybe family members. That's it. Anybody new, I'm not talking to them. And if I'm out in the public, I don't even look at people. Don't want to deal with it too much. Gave me the heebie-jeebies, right? So now I'm going to stand up in front of strangers all by myself on a dark stage with a light in my face, and I can barely see people out there, maybe just the first row, barely, right? And I'm going to just be a funny person. Difficult to do, very difficult. And it took me many tries. And maybe after about 2-3 years of consistently going out 4, 5, 6, 7 times a week, whatever was possible, I began to get pretty good at it, and started to get work called on by people, hey, Jeff, can you work my room for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, right? So anyways, doubts and fears should be rigorously excluded. They are disintegrating elements which break up the straight line of effort, rendering it crooked and effectually useless. Thoughts of doubt and fear never accomplish anything, never can. There you go. Right. So, the best hitters, the best performers, the best speakers, the best accountants, the best whomever's parents, right? You really got to find some central strength. You got to find, there's different things that you can pull from, and some of it is just being honest, being sincere, knowing you're doing the right thing, not lying, cheating, backstabbing, and stealing. Those are all weakening elements, right? Anything that is a weakening element, you want to stay away from it, right? They always lead to failure. Purpose, energy, power to do, and also strong thought cease when doubt and fear creep in. True. I'll tell you. Get up and try to do stand-up in front of dozens or hundreds of people. It's easy to make your friends laugh. Very difficult to get up in front of people you don't know in a darkened room, on a stage, dark stage. It's actually dark, there's a huge light in your face. Pretty dark when you're looking out there. The will to do springs from the knowledge that we can do, right? And I realized that after I, did stand up or was teaching or playing guitar or instrument or whatever, shooting a basket, that after I did it a couple 100,000 times, 10,000 times, then you prove to yourself that, I can do this. So you start doing it. You just, get up there and you just do it. You don't even think. As opposed to when you're starting out, the early days, you're way overthinking it. Then as you gain more confidence and go through the hard knocks and bump up against the pricks, as they say, the more you do that, the more you refine yourself, the more you become strengthened, sure of yourself, less fear, less doubt, And now when I get in front of people, I don't think I ever really get nervous anymore. I don't know if I've been nervous for a long time. And that could be a problem, to be honest, Being way nervous is a problem because you can't do anything. And then when you're not nervous, sometimes you say and do stuff you probably shouldn't. So I find myself now in a situation where I used to always have to pull myself up. Come on, man. Stop with the doubt and the fear and the worry and the self-pity, blah, 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 blah. Now I'm like going, calm down, man. Take it easy. You're not all that. Take it down a few notches. You're going to scare these people. Doubt and fear are the great enemies of knowledge. True. Or performance. And he who encourages them who does not slay them and thwarts himself at every step. He who has conquered doubt and fear has conquered failure. His every thought is allied with power, and all the difficulties are bravely met and wisely overcome. Again, there's that all absolute. All the time, I'd be careful of absolutes. His purposes are seasonably planted. Remember, we're a garden, we're a growth, right? And they bloom and bring forth fruit, which does not fall prematurely to the ground. All right. And finally, thought allied fearlessly to purpose become creative force. He who knows this is ready to become something higher and stronger than a mere bundle of wavering thoughts and fluctuating sensations. He who does this has become the conscious and intelligent wielder of mental powers. That's it for now. We'll see you next time. We've just got thoughts on achievements and vision ideals, and also on serenity. So I think not a lot in that one or this one. So I think we'll finish up next time with those three. Until then, be good humans. Talk soon.